Greetings, this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a review of Geostorm, which is the movie that we saw this weekend. It was basically like a Roland Emmerich movie, but it was a Devlin movie. So it wasn't really Roland Emmerich, but he was trying to do that kind of thing, kind of like a GI Joe kind of thing, because it was they built a satellite network in the movie that goes haywire because there's a virus in it, and there's a conspiracy from the government, and there's like a Democrat convention, and the president is a Democrat, is a man, and he looks vaguely like Bush, which is weird, and who was a Republican, and there's like an international group that builds a big, enormous space station, somehow modifies the ISS into an actual, like, half Taurus, and hooks up a gravity well thing so they can walk around, a gravity spinning centrifuge. Yeah, and there's narration from a 13-year-old in the beginning and the end, which is kind of odd. The daughter of the spacewalker guy. The beginning of the movie opens with, like, the two brothers, the space maverick guy who is kind of like an early version of Russell Crowe, but not. And his hotshot brother who's dating the Secret Service agent. It sounds like all the things of either a Michael Bay or Roland Emmerich kind of crossed together, or both together. Yeah, looks like something both of them would do. It's Warner Brothers, and yeah, so I guess it'd be minor there'd be spoilers just because the movie is, not doing well either. I don't think it was even in the 20s on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, the audience was there. There was an audience. It was fairly, I guess, half of an audience on a Saturday, day after opening. It was fine, I guess. I wouldn't give it a 20% though. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it's like, would you watch this over Armageddon again or something like that, or Pearl Harbor with Michael Bay or something? Probably. It's a little better than those movies. I would say that it's not. It's salvageable. It's 2.5 stars. I would give it like. It's almost 3 for visuals, but the characters are just dumb. So yeah, and it's not dumb enough to be annoyingly dumb. It's not boring. It's just very predictable and very by the numbers. It's sort of like watching those Independence Day movies, where you kind of know what's going to happen. You kind of know where the twists are coming, and they come, and there's no twist because you totally saw it coming. You have the stereotypical, like, token black guy who appears twice. You have this token hacker chick. You have other hackers thrown in, but they're kind of the same token thing. You have the token secret agent, obvious bad guy who is running the whole thing and kicks the main leader guy out in the beginning, and you're like, okay, that's one of the bad guys, if not the bad guy, so that the other brother has to bring him back 3 years later so that they can go up to the station and stop the glitching. Which begs the question, if they were setting up it to be like a glitch virus thing, and why would they send him back up? Why wouldn't they just say, oh, we're not going to fix it? Then the movie wouldn't happen. Yeah. The idea of there being a Geostorm, or the plot of the movie, the machine counting down to blow them all up, is like something out of G.I. Joe and Cobra and GoldenEye and a number of other Moonraker, a number of the James Bond two stories too. Yeah, so this would have been a fairly good G.I. Joe movie if they just changed it to make like, make it like G.I. Joe and Cobra, and somehow Cobra infiltrated the U.S. government, and they were like, and the other arms dealer was Destro or something, and everyone would know it's Destro, but yeah, it would make a decent G.I. Joe movie. So it's not, but yeah, Geostorm, it's there. It exists. You can have it on the background, like during Adventure Night or something. It's science fiction, fantasy. It doesn't matter if the shuttles look a little strange, look like something out of G.I. Joe. It doesn't matter if the space program apparently must have like gone into overdrive if they could set up satellites all over the Earth like that. And wouldn't the other satellites go away? And you're supposed to suspend disbelief and say like, okay, they had enough raw materials to do that, even though they wouldn't have, and the scales are all off. But oh well. I mean, if they would have to have billions of satellites over each like area, and they'd have to be huge. And the way they drew them, you could actually physically see them in orbit of each country. Because then, even though it would be more like you couldn't, because it's the Earth. The Earth is big. The Earth is very big. So there was like these really weird jumps of logic in there. They gave the station gravity until the gravity got killed off by the station going and whatever. And most of the previews gave away most of it, and I'm not going to give away all of it. I guess you can go out and see it if you want to. But the idea is, yeah, their conspiracy really doesn't make sense when handed down to scrutiny. It's like they took over and pissed them off, the heroes off, so they would be bitter and then wanted to frame them later. Why not just take over and not tell them? Then the entire movie wouldn't go wrong. And they couldn't blame them because they weren't there. So yeah. Also, if one of their plots was to destroy the president and the cabinet and everything by having them all in the story be all in the same place at the Democrat convention, and it's like, that wouldn't work either, because the main bad guy is clearly in on it, and if he's a Secretary of Defense guy or whatever, and like at the end of the day, like he blows them up using the satellite weapon, and then he'd be all, ha ha, see, now I'm the president, I blew them all up with my secret satellite weapon, ha ha ha. That they managed to get away, but it's like, yeah, they wouldn't make him the president, they would arrest him. He wouldn't be the president. Come on, they would just elect somebody else. It's election year anyway, so okay, that's not how that works. It's like his plan was ludicrous. It's like, what was your plan exactly? Destroy everybody else, so I'm the only one left? Like, that doesn't work. No, that wouldn't work too well. You'd still be under arrest. Also, the hacking computer part's kind of odd too. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there, and they're using that sort of black screen with the bold letters kind of text they used in Snowden. They're using in Linux or something. Why would they? And how would that work with DOS? It looks like DOS prompts. What? And how would they have Linux and DOS and Apple working together and IBM? And how would that work? I'm wondering how they would find secret code just from staring at little codes that are printed in red, so they would notice them. Like, how does that work? Like, I'm not even a programmer or nothing, but that don't seem right somehow. But yeah, so if you suspend all of that and the fact that they're launching space shuttles and landing them in a launch bay, like the shuttle can slow down and land in a launch bay and launch again, like it has shuttle bays like a garage. How would the rockets be refueled? Is the station so large that it's space dock? Because that's what they implied. So that when the shuttle leaves, how would it leave? It would have to have more, fuel to get home and all that stuff. Yeah, it couldn't just it would have to burn as much fuel to slow down as it would to take off. There's momentum and all that stuff. The spacewalks were kind of fun. They were clearly thinking gravity. Even gravity had issues. It's like, yeah, as was pointed out several times. Yeah, if you blow up a space station thing and hurl pieces, it's not going to go into orbit so that it comes and hits you immediately. It would just go out in all directions. So that scene in Gravity was silly. And this one, they just blew everything up, which would then collapse the grid, so nothing would work. But if that was their plan, then why not just collapse the grid to begin with and then blow up the satellites? Gee, there's an idea. So it was sort of a thinly veiled anti-gun thing, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, not quite 3 stars. Not 20% though. I would say more like 45 to be generous. Not quite 50. Uh, um, because it did have some interesting visuals and things and explosions and the gag with the self-driving car saw coming a mile away. Yeah, I knew what was going to happen there. Not because it was that clever. It's because it was that obvious. And it's hilarious that Andy Garcia was in it because he's Captain Obvious. So yes, he actually has lines. So yeah. But yeah. It was better than Passengers, a little bit. Um, which would have been, yeah, that was a different kind of sci-fi movie. That would have been better as a horror movie. This one is what it is. At least it's not at all trying to be anything other than a rip-off of a Roland Emmerich movie, which is interesting and hilarious in its own right. So I guess that's pretty much my little capsule review of Geostorm, which should have been a G.I. Joe movie or a failed James Bond script or something. I could see Cobra doing that. Like, then it would make sense because you'd have like, okay, the Cobra guys, like Zartan infiltrated, the base and is disguised as the chief guy, and he's like, yes, Commander, when I get inside, I will have them all ruined. Ah, excellent, Zartan. If you fail this time, I will have you jettisoned out an airlock. Yes. So yeah, oh, and then of course Duke and Mutt would go in there to rescue them. Because yeah, I could see that one guy being Mutt. But yeah, and Leatherneck and everybody. But yeah, it would have been a pretty good G.I. Joe movie. But that's not what it is. It was trying to be. But yeah, considering the Defiant Complex Space Station was a G.I. Joe set from, yeah, it would be a good G.I. Joe movie. Yeah, so it's not, but so there's my review of the movie. I really can't say much more about it except that it's there, it exists, it's fine. It's kill 2 hours, fine. You'll see a space movie with rockets and jingoistic characters and interestingly enough, a sort of international flair characters and at least 2 bad guys you can see coming a mile away, but like, I'm the one that doesn't like you, so therefore I'm the villain. Mahahaha. It's like, really? Like, okay, yes, mahahaha. But yeah. So that's my review of the movie. It's alright. It's worth a rental, I guess. I thought the 3D version. Probably should have shot the 2D version. So I'm not going to give it a downgrade for having gone and seen the 3D one by accident. Well, there was no other showing at that time, so I went. It wasn't a special screening. Oh yeah, and yeah, what were the trailers were all not interesting. Although there was a trailer for Thor Ragnarok, which comes out on the 3rd of November. And they'll start our November sweeps at the Kal Kat show. Yeah, so there'll be more of that. And the Climar thing is still not in production yet, and has not resumed. Although there might be a Transformer thing further coming out, parody. So yeah, so there's my thing. They did show the Thor trailer, and yeah, it looks cool. It's fun. None of the other ones were even remarkable. The other trailers. Yeah, I'm done then.